What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more unpopular opinions for you guys. It is international break, third bloody international break of the season, albeit it is a bit of a welcome one this time round with all the injuries that we do have. But I know you guys love your unpopular opinions, and we're here to provide once again. So let's get straight into it. Let's go to Kamikaze Cockerel, who says Pochettino wasted a brilliant squad and wasn't responsible for Tottenham reaching the Champions League final. Lucas Moura was, and then Pochettino stabbed him in the back.
Jeez.
I mean,
very harsh.
That's a bit over the top, isn't it? I mean, Pochettino wasn't responsible for Spurs getting to the Champions League final, but he got Spurs to a Champions League final with Winks and Sissoko in the middle. And like, people always go like, yeah, Lucas Moura got Spurs to the Champions League final. And that, yeah, that's true. He scored a hat-trick in the semi-final, and he did score a few more goals along the way. But people forget the Champions League run lasts a lot longer than just one game, the semi-final to the final.
100%. And Pochettino wasted a brilliant squad. I think he did great with the squad that he built. Obviously, he did build a good squad, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Kane developed into one of the best strikers in the world. Eriksen, Dele Alli, Heung-min Son were playing very well at the moment as well. Dembele. It was a great squad, but I think, first of all, he has a lot of competitors who comparing it to a lot of very good clubs competing with. And I think he built it from nothing as well. And you've got to take that into consideration. So to say he wasted it is very harsh. But you know what? He's Chelsea manager now. So, yeah, he wasted it. Absolute flop. Fraud.
100%. 100%. Next up is from Swan Ronson, who says, Ndombele should be given another chance to contribute to the club by being head of concessions.
Look, I'm all for it. Put him in the concession stand.
You just want Ndombele back by any means necessary. On the pitch, off the pitch, head of concessions.
He's got a passion for it. So.
At least he's got a passion for something, eh?
I like that from Swan Ronson. Put him to good. Look, if he's not gonna try on the pitch, put him to good use.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe he could be head of the pick and mix stand in the shop. Next up is from Greg, and he says the injuries and suspensions in our starting 11 is actually a good thing to allow the fringe players some game time, thus giving Ange a better assessment on who to keep, let go, come the transfer window, and show to the higher ups an honest picture of the squad as a whole. I mean, do they need to be reminding of the honest picture as a whole? Like, every time we hear, like, when Spurs have a few injuries and the lineups that we're facing, like, a lot of fans go, they're sending the border message.
It's a great thing. Oh, it's so great. Levy will finally see. Like, for me, I would never describe the injuries to Van de Ven and Maddison as a good thing. Absolutely not. Because the board aren't going to get the message. They're only gonna look for opportunities apparently anyway. So we're gonna have to put up with these fringe players in the team for the time being. Whereas if they would have stayed fit, the results wouldn't have. I don't think will decline as badly as them not being fit. So I can't see any real upside. I know what he's trying to say. Maybe Levy will see the fringe players and see, oh, look, these fringe players aren't good enough and we're finally going to invest heavily, but I just don't think that's going to happen. So in the end, essence, it's not a good thing. Yeah,
and look, I agree with you. It's never a good thing for your key players to be injured. And I think that Ange will know exactly what he wants to do with this squad. So in turn, Levy should know exactly what he wants to do with this squad. So I don't think injuries help that, to be honest. I think they only just hamper our chances in the league, to be honest. Next up, we've got Jay from Jay Spurs News, and he says, without a long-term Maddison and BDV injury, we would have won the title this year.
I don't think we would have won the title. I think if we had our first 11 stay fit for the whole season, maybe we could have done something really good. Maybe top 3 could have been in Challenge 4 or something like that. Even that would have been unlikely, I would say. But I don't think we were ever seriously going to win the title, even with these players staying fit. So that's just my opinion. Albeit, I do really like the starting 11 that Ange just built. Don't get me wrong.
I disagree slightly. I actually think if we would have kept our starting 11 completely fit for the whole season, I think we would have been in a race. I don't know if we would have won it or not. That's a completely different story, but I do think we would have been in the race.
I still think our team isn't as good as some of the teams above us, like Arsenal and Liverpool. I don't think it's quite as good as that just yet. But don't get me wrong. I think the improvement he's made from last season is stark, and I'm really liking the first 11. I don't think we would have been in the race. I think we would have been out of it probably come February, March time.
I think we could have lasted in it until April, to be honest, until that really hard run. Because the way I look at it, right, is our fixture list is so crazy this year. I know everyone plays everyone twice every year, but in terms of the way it's been scheduled, right now, if we would have kept our injuries, this hard run that we're going through now is our last hard run with consecutive games in it until the April. So I think we could have gone on a really good run from now until April time, which would have kept us up there and would have kept us in the running and would have kept us as title challengers until April. And then it would have come down to those big games in the April time. So I think we could have stayed in it until then.
I think even if everyone stayed fit, I reckon we would have faltered in December because of all the games. I think so. That's my opinion anyway.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one from Jasper THFC saying Lo Celso should not have been given another chance even with the Maddison injury. That's a bit harsh.
I mean, I would like to look. We kept him, didn't we, for a reason? Ange decided not to sell him, and we kept him in the squad. So if you're going to decide to keep him, you might as well. That's you saying, okay, he deserves another chance shortly, isn't it? Otherwise, what's the point of keeping him around if you're not going to at least consider playing him again? So for me, I think Lo Celso is a good player when he stays fit, and I think if we're looking for a Maddison replacement, I don't think anyone in the squad is as suited to it as Lo Celso. So I would give him another chance, but I am a bit annoyed that Ange against Wolves didn't start him. I can't put my finger on why, and there's been a few occasions where maybe he could have turned to Lo Celso and he hasn't. So I don't know. Lo Celso doesn't seem to be that favoured at the moment, but hopefully next game, after international break, he can get his opportunity.
I think you've got to use the players at your disposal at the end of the day. And like you said, there's no one in the squad that can replicate what Maddison can do, but the closest one that we do have is probably Lo Celso. I think he could drop deep and be aggressive and win the ball back in key areas and also influence things going the other way with his creative passing. So I think Lo Celso should be starting at the moment. I agree. But if Lo Celso isn't starting, I would like to see Kulusevski move to the middle. So we need one creative player at least in that middle of the park. And we saw, without having a creative midfielder in the middle three against Wolves, how that did for us, and our play was completely different to what it has been all season, our poorest display of the season. So we need some sort of creativity in the middle, and if that's Lo Celso, and if he wants to give that a go, then go for it. If not, you've got to give Kulusevski a go. Someone has to be there, not what we went through on Saturday. Next up is from KD saying Son is a striker now and is too old to play as winger. We should invest in a top winger.
I don't think that's unpopular.
No, I don't. Not in this studio anyway.
No, I think everyone knows that. Son, I don't know who's calling for Son to play as a winger, considering how he's played there in recent. Well, first of all, this season, even last season as well, when he played on the left, it wasn't so great. So this season, he was
playing with an injury last season.
Yeah, true. But this season, he's shown up front. That's where you get the most out of his clinical edge that he provides to the team. That's his biggest strength, his finishing in front of goal. So I think 100%. He's 31. I think he needs to be converted into a striker. I think that process is already there, to be honest. So I don't think that's unpopular.
But are we looking at it like maybe just because he's had his best performances as number 9 this season? Like, he didn't have that many minutes as left winger this season. 2 games this season as left wing, and also last season, like I said, he was playing through an injury. So maybe he still can do that role, but he hasn't shown it in recent months.
I think he can do it, but I don't think he can do it to a good enough level for us, in my opinion. I think he needs to be a striker. He's not good in even when he got the golden boot, when he was kind of playing off the left, he wasn't really playing as a left winger. He was more playing as a central striker, running in behind. Like, all the goals, if you look at all the goals he scored, very few of them, or even like assists, not many of them were coming off him being a pure left winger that Ange needs. I don't think he's up to that role anymore on a consistent basis. I think he can do it maybe in the odd game, but I wouldn't want him there consistently, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I want him up front.
That's fair enough. Bailey Wyatt says Bentancur has to start over Basuma. His performances since the red card have been awful, and I think Bentancur is better as a 6 than an 8. And this is interesting because this is something I spoke to you about, Sim, last season, if you remember. I thought that Bentancur could really be the number 6. I think he's got all the attributes to be a number 6, especially in this system. I agree what he says about Basuma. Since the red card, he hasn't been the same player, but maybe he has had that suspension and that yellow card in the back of his mind. Now he's got that. Maybe we can see the shackles being a bit released off Bissouma, and he can get back to what he was before.
Yeah, I hope so, because he's been lacking something for sure. I think confidence, authority, ever since he got that sending off against Luton, just hasn't looked the same. But it's only been a couple of games, so I don't want to cast too many aspersions against him, because he has been brilliant for the first 10 games. I think Bentancur can do the role. I don't see any reason why not. He's got very good passing ability. He's very press resistant. He's strong. He's extremely good defensively as well. I just think if I'm taking the two players, Bentancur and Bissouma, who would I rather in the 6? I do think Bissouma just shades it, but I don't see any reason why both teams line up as well. Who would I rather in the 8? I think Bentancur will probably be a better 8 than Bissouma. So I think that's where I'd keep them for now. But I 100% agree. If Bissouma's not cutting it, continually not playing well, I don't see why Bentancur couldn't step in that position, albeit it seems as though Ange has preferred Højbjerg there.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't really mind, but I just want both of them in the team. I think both of them in the midfield would just be so unbelievable. Like, it would be so hard to get the ball off us. We'll be able to keep the ball for days on end, literally, with them two in the midfield. So do you agree? I think Bentancur is the best midfielder at this club.
Yeah, well, especially based on how he was playing last season. I think he probably... I think even the form I'm seeing from Bissouma and Maddison is very high, but Bentancur was one of the best centre mids in the league last season when he was in the form he was in. He was absolutely astounding. So I think on his day... I mean, it's hard to say, because Maddison, we could argue, has been probably the best Premier League player this season as well. Yeah. So
it's weird, because I don't really, when I'm saying best midfielder, I don't really consider Maddison, because I see him more as like maybe I'm talking about 6s or 8s instead of 10s.
I think the form Bentancur was showing last season was probably just shades Bissouma this season, but Bissouma himself, I was arguing, one of the best defensive midfielders in the league this season as well, the form he was showing. So it's a tight call, to be honest, but I think Bentancur showed it a bit more over like 6 months, didn't he, in the first half of last season. So I'll give it. And also he was good even before that in the first 6 months at the club, wasn't he? He was really good. So I think he just shades it.
Next up is Evan Frank saying Bryan Hill will be the most influential player for us this season once he gets a run of games.
The most
influential player for us. I mean, I think he can be influential for us, but to be the most influential player in a Spurs shirt this season, I think that's a bit of a stretch too far. I'm a big fan of Bryan Hill. Said it many a time. I like what he can bring to the team. Hasn't shown it, and he hasn't been given the chances. But I do think he's got a lot of attributes that can really suit an Ange Postecoglou system. He's direct. He's aggressive. He wins the ball back. He presses well. I would just like to see him just calm down a little bit, because I feel like he's a bit erratic and goes like he doesn't have much composure, Bryan Hill. And I think I'd like to see him show that bit of composure on the football pitch, because he seems to just like run around like a headless chicken at times. But I think once he sorts that out, I do think he can be influential for us.
I think he can be probably a good player for Ange. I don't see him ever getting to the level where he's the most influential player, because what you're saying is him being the most influential player is that he plays on the wing and he's literally taking on his man consistently, beating his man consistently, and creating opportunities at will. And are we going to get to a stage where whenever we get the ball, we're always looking for Bryan Hill kind of thing? I don't know. I don't think he's ever going to get to that stage, to be honest. But it doesn't mean I don't think he can be a good player under Ange. But I don't think Evan Frank is right there.
KD again says Lo Celso, Bentancur and Højbjerg should be the midfield 3 against Aston Villa.
So drop Sarr, he's saying. Obviously Bissouma suspended. I wouldn't mind, to be honest, to see that trialled. I wouldn't mind. I don't think there's a massive reason to drop Sarr, because I think he is still playing quite well. But if that's the midfield that Ange goes with, I would be pretty open to that as well. I think that's a very strong midfield, and you have a bit more technical ability as well in there.
I'd prefer to see Sarr instead of Højbjerg. Maybe drop Bentancur down to the 6, or maybe drop Bentancur down to the 6, have Sarr as the 8, and have Lo Celso as the 10. That's the way I would go, probably.
Yeah, I'm happy with that as well. But I'm saying if that's the midfield that he goes with, I think that's a pretty good midfield.
Yeah, it is a good midfield.
I'm pretty happy with that as well.